Noon, the worst hour to carry water. A woman walks alone out of a small town in the hills of Samaria, a clay jar balanced against her hip. Every other woman in town drew her water at dawn, in the cool, in company. The well was the morning social hour of the ancient world. To come at noon, in the flattening heat, alone, is a decision. It is the decision of someone avoiding people, or of someone people avoid. We know a little about her, and none of it is a name. 5 marriages behind her, a 6th arrangement that isn't one. In a town that size, everyone knows everything, and noon is the only hour when the well has no eyes. She expects nothing from this errand except water and silence. What she gets instead is a stranger sitting on the well. Hold her in your mind, the heat, the careful loneliness, and especially the jar on her hip. That jar is about to become the most important object in this entire story. Keep your eye on it. By the end, what happens to it will tell you whether she found what the stranger was offering, and whether the offer is still open. The stranger is a Jewish teacher, resting at midday while his companions have gone to buy food. And the first surprise is simply that he speaks to her at all. The text itself names the barrier. Jews and Samaritans, it notes, do not share things in common. Add that she is a woman, alone, with a history, and every social rule of the first century agrees this conversation does not happen. It happens anyway. He asks her for a drink. Within a few sentences, the exchange turns strange. If you knew who was asking, he tells her, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. She looks at a man with no rope and no bucket, sitting on a well famously deep, and gives him the most sensible reply in the whole chapter. Sir, you have nothing to draw with. She is not being slow, she is being precise. And her precision is the doorway into the mystery, because she knows exactly what living water means. We mostly don't. In her world, the phrase is not poetry, it is plumbing vocabulary. Water came in 2 kinds. Cistern water, rain caught in a carved pit, standing still, slowly going stale, always running out. And the other kind, water that moves, a spring, a stream, water with a source of its own. The tradition even preferred it for ritual washing. The still kind wouldn't do. Their name for it? Mayim Chaim, living water. Stored versus springing, stale versus source. That is the plain everyday distinction the stranger picks up, and then bends. The water I give, he says, becomes a spring inside the one who drinks it, welling up and not stopping. Feel the physics of that claim. Not better water, not more water, not water from a holier well. A relocation of the source, from out there to in here. And this is where the old prophets walk into the room, because the image was already ancient when he used it. 6 centuries earlier, the prophet Jeremiah had accused his people of 2 evils in 1 sentence. They had abandoned the spring of living water and dug themselves cisterns. Broken cisterns, he said, that can hold no water. Broken cisterns. Keep that phrase beside the jar. It may be the most accurate description of the modern soul ever written, 26 centuries in advance. We are coming back to it. The mystics never let the image go. 15 centuries after the well, Teresa of Avila, the nun with the diamond castle, if you've walked our earlier doors, described the entire life of prayer as 4 ways of watering a garden. Hauling it up bucket by bucket, turning a water wheel, channeling a stream, and finally, rain, when the gardener does nothing at all and the water simply comes. The whole journey, in her telling, is the slow discovery that the water was never yours to haul. Now widen the circle one last time. To us. The two kinds of water never went away, only the containers changed. A cistern is anything that must be refilled from outside. The feed, the metric, the next purchase, the next person's verdict on you. Some of those are fine things, but they are standing water. They go stale, they run out. The level is always dropping, which is why the checking never stops. The mystics would recognize our exhaustion instantly, not as a scheduling problem, as a plumbing problem, a civilization of magnificent cisterns and almost no one asking where the spring went. And here they hand us their strangest idea. Thirst, they insist, is not the enemy. Thirst is information. The same ache that drives you to every broken cistern is the ache that could walk you to the spring. The thirst is not the absence of the water. The thirst is the water, calling. Don't rush past that. Sit inside it for a breath, even if it refuses to resolve. Now, the jar. Go back to the well, to the final lines of the scene. The conversation ends, the companions return, and the text drops one small detail with no explanation attached, the way ancient writers do when they are trusting you to notice. The woman left her water jar, left it, and went into the town. The same town she had arranged her whole day to avoid, she now walked straight into at high noon, finding the very people she came to the well to escape, and telling all of them. She came for water. She leaves the container behind. Nobody in the story points at it. The narrator simply sets the jar down in the sentence and walks away. But the mystics have loved that jar for 2,000 years because it answers the question we opened with. Whatever she found at that well, it was not the kind of thing a jar can carry. Not rain, not well water, not anything that needs hauling at all. Readers have argued over this story for 20 centuries. Historians, theologians, mystics, and this channel won't settle it for them. But on one point, the text is quietly insistent. The woman who came at noon to avoid every eye went home at noon looking for eyes to meet. Something changed hands at that well, something that made the jar optional. So the last word belongs where the mystics always leave it, with the text itself, spoken beside a jar that was about to be forgotten, to a woman with no name at the worst hour of the day. Whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. The water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water, springing up into everlasting life. Watch your own jar this week. Notice what you keep hauling. And if you want to keep tracing the springs beneath every tradition, subscribe to Mystic Pathways. Keep seeking.